All right, this is the HTML crash course. You're wanting to learn how to build websites, learning how to build web apps. And the first way to start when you're dealing with the browser reads HTML. And that's going to be what the user sees, but the code is what you're going to write so the user can see all of the wonderful things you're going to create. So let's learn HTML. Let's get started. So starting this presentation off, we have the HTML tag. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, if you ever need to know that. But the tag itself looks like this. It's got a less than sign, HTML, and then a greater than sign. And this dash is showing that this is a open and close tag all in one. So you'd never really write it this way, but at least gives you an example of how to see a HTML tag and then how to also close it. The index.html is the home page for every site. There's also different variations, but the index.html is showing that index is the home page and the dot is the beginning of the extension of HTML. And so this code, or this page, this file, holds HTML code, and then that's what we're going to put into the file. So let's get started. We're going to open up the HTML tag, and we've got the less than and greater than across the HTML, and then same thing for the close tag, except for that at the beginning of HTML you see the /. So in the contents of this tag, everything in between these two tags is going to be our HTML code. So this starts the file and ends the file with HTML. Inside that, you'll typically see most pages, if not all, have a head and a body tag. The head is where all the logic goes and all the associations to different styles or different scripts or whatever, fonts, stuff like that. And even the title of the page. And then the body tag is where all the content is going to be. This is what the user is going to see. This is going to be your content. This is going to be your interface. So in the head tag, let's open that up. Let's put the title in there for this page. And for this file, we have a title of Learn Together Code. So we've got a pipe in between and all the content in between the title tag. You can see it open and close. All that's in between is the content for the title name. All right, so if we open up the body tag, we have the ellipses to show that nothing's changed above and below, but let's open this up so we have a little more room. And this is where all of the content goes for the page. So let's begin the markup. So the first tag we're going to talk about is one that we can communicate from developer to developer. When you're coding and you want to describe a section, this is a way to tell another developer or yourself 6 months later that it gives them a little context of what's going on, because the code can get a little overwhelming the more there is, and comments help us communicate with each other and to ourselves what's going on in different sections. So this is how you start a comment. You've got an exclamation point, 2 hyphens, all the content in between until you reach 2 hyphens and a greater than on this side as well. So this is how you'd also do a multi-line comment. So we could actually hit return and type more, and then as long as this ends the comment, you can have multiple lines in the comment as long as we use this syntax. So let's move on. So let's do a heading 1. There are actually 6 headings, so H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. And H1 is the higher priority in a hierarchy of content. This is more like the title of a chapter. And then if there were subheadings, there would be H2s and H3s, depending on how they were nested inside of each other. So H1 is going to be it's going to be the highest priority of this page, and there will be only one H1 per page. You don't want to have more than one H1 per page because it's kind of the title of the page, even though we have a title in the head. So this H1 is going to be the title that the user sees on the page, and it's really going to tell not only the user, but also search engines look for this as well, but it's the H1 that's going to be the most important. So let's move on. Don't want to dig too deep into concepts, but the idea here is that we have a paragraph, and that's with a P tag, and so that paragraph starts and ends. This would be multiple sentences. If you want to start a new paragraph, start a new tag for a P and then move on. All right, so let's move on to special characters. Let's add a special character in learning and coding together. And so this ampersand is the and symbol. This ampersand, it needs to have a special symbol. This is a HTML symbol entity. And if we change this to an HTML version, then what we're doing is we're saying that this isn't code, this is a character that we need to show with HTML. Because if we wanted to do a less than sign in maybe like right after this G, the HTML is going to get confused. Are we closing this H1 tag, or are we trying to say that this less than sign is a character that we want to display inside of this content here? So let's give you an example. So the less than, greater than, and the ampersand all have entities that we would describe like this. And symbol, AMP for ampersand, close with a semicolon, and then less than and greater than, so LT, GT, and then these are just one of, or three of many symbols that we can access. So this is how we write a HTML symbol. So let's put it to practice. We have an ampersand here we need to change to a HTML entity. Let's do that with and AMP semicolon. And now when it displays, it will give the and symbol, but in our code we're using the HTML code. So now that we have that, there is a little recap. First we have all of what we've written so far, and now let's change this into HTML5. And the way we do this is add a doc type HTML to the top of the page. It starts off with an exclamation point, capitalized doc type, and then HTML at the end. This will update your code to HTML5, giving you access to more tools that we haven't even yet covered in this talk. So this is what this looks like now. We've basically added a doc type to the top, and now you're writing and ready for HTML markup. Nice job. So let's give this a try and put this into practice. So I'm going to back out of the slides. I'm going to open up a terminal, and I'm using iTerm here, but I'm going to change directories into a work in progress folder that I always work out of when I'm playing with code. And so with writing code in work in progress, I need to create a new folder. So make directory, mkdir, and I'm going to have space in the name of my directory. So let's do HTML example. And then now I have a folder called HTML example. I'm going to change directories, cd, HTML example, and then now I'm ready to be in that folder. So you can see the folder name is here on the left. I'll hit ls, which means list the files, and there's nothing in there. So let's touch, which means create. So touch a file, and let's go ahead and create our index.html. I'll ls again. You can see the index.html file is listed here. So now let's open Sublime Text, which is my editor. And so let's start writing our code. And then there's another place I want to go to really quick to write code, and that is CodePen.io. /pin will open up a new pin. I'm logged in, and I can start writing code here. So we're just going to play with HTML, no CSS or JavaScript. Let's start with let's do a comment. So if we did a header section, I'll do a command / and then that translates into a comment. So there's ways to use shortcut keys, and there's ways to write HTML quicker, so you're not typing every character, and this will save you time, and you don't have to use your fingers so much. So you just write the things that you are wanting to create, and then hopefully the code editor that you're using will finish it for you. So I'll give you an example. I'll create my H1 by typing H1. I'm going to hit tab on the keyboard, and then it creates this empty tag and ready for me to type. So learning code together, exclamation point. Going to move to the next line, and you can already see that my code is now translating into a page down below. So this is what the browser is going to show me at the end. So let's go and do our p tag, and I'm going to add in, we love to learn HTML quickly. And then we can do more sentences here. I want to show you another trick just to be able to give example content sometimes, but you can do another p tag. I'm going to type in lorem. I'm going to hit tab, and you can see it gave me multiple sentences in Latin, and this is just a way to fill space. So we can do this as a way to at least start marking up the page without real content just yet. It's common practice at least. And so with lorem ipsum in here, we've done a couple tags. Now let's move to a real editor in Sublime Text. So here I have an HTML page. When I'm dealing with this type of editor, I want to write out the full HTML. So let's start off with the HTML tag. I need to declare I'm writing HTML. And I wonder if I did doc type. it didn't do that for me, so let's, hey, well that was nice. It actually did a whole lot for me, but we're not ready for that. So again, there are ways to write a whole lot of code with a lot less typing, just like that. So anyways, I have my HTML5 doctype tag. HTML tab will open up my HTML tag. I'll do head, and then title, and then learning code, pipe code, and then I'm gonna close my head tag, open body. Now let's move on to our comment. So header content, and then H1, learning code together to spell right. And then we'll do all right, so let's move on to H2, and this will be like something like next section. Again, I'm just giving you an example of how you'd create a comment, and also how you'd giving yourself context to what is what. So now I know that this is the header content, and below is going to be the next section, might be the subsection, something like that. And again, the better your comments are to describe what you're about to show, the better. So your sub header would be here, and your content is going to be here. I'm using tab a lot to just create all these tags, and it's making my typing a whole lot easier. So let's save. I'm going to name this as index inside of my work in progress, HTML example. Interesting. Oh, I never opened it. There, I'm sorry. So let's open up index.html. We'll paste that there, close this untitled tab, and hit save. So now let's open this up in Chrome. Let's see if this will work. Open in browser, Chrome, and boom. So you can see my local computer path. It's showing me everything that we typed into the browser, or into the editor, and now showing in the browser. So we're looking at the page that we created locally, and so we're able to see our local files in a browser. It's really nice to be able to do that. So that's how you write HTML. If you have more questions, put them in the comments below.